Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Elevated Beauty Podcast. I'm your host, Emily Fouts, and today's episode is going to be with a guest speaker, Valentina Acosta. She is the owner of Luna Luxe Aesthetics in Colorado Springs. So we're going to be talking a little bit about what success looks like to her and her journey as an esthetician. So if you're interested, then keep on listening. All right, so I have Valentina here with me. If you want to introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about what your business is about, or just a little bit about you, whatever, you can just go straight for it.
Okay, sure. So my name is Valentina. I'm a licensed esthetician. I'm a skin and brow specialist. I do specialize in transforming people's skin and brows. So overall, I mostly do corrective facials. I do microneedling, chemical peels, but I also like to do microblading, and I will eventually be doing some ombre and powder brows.
I think that kind of defines you pretty well according to what I've seen on your feed. But I kind of wanted to ask you off topic, I guess, off of what we kind of talked about. What did you, because I know that you do the skincare portion, but then you also do the PMU with the brows, which look amazing, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
So what did you start with, and what do you favor the most, I guess?
It's actually crazy. So I got into skincare. So, okay, Colorado Springs is one of the only states that you need an esthetician or Cosmo license to do PMU. And so I originally got into wanting to do just PMU after getting my own brows done. And I just have been following a lot of different artists, kind of seeing all of it. I thought the tattooing brows would be really cool, just a really nice creative outlet. And so that was my main driving force into getting into aesthetics. And then once I was actually in school, which is crazy because I picked the worst school.
I think we all have horrible experiences with school.
Yeah, I picked the worst school because I was oh, well, no one's going to look at that. I'm straight up just going to do brows. It's not even necessary. It's technically not even necessary to really actually have your esthetician license for PMU, but it's required. So I was whatever, I'm just going to go to the quickest one that I can find. And thankfully my instructor was amazing. And the only good thing about the school, she was only there for 2 months, but she, learning about the different skin, layers of the skin and just skin histology, physiology, and all of that, actually putting science into the whole skincare aspect, that to me was fascinating. I was what, I did, I guess if you don't really know anything about aesthetics, you just think that it's creams and lotions and things like that just go on people's faces. But then I started to see the purpose behind it.
Right.
And I found that to be so cool. And then I started to just dive really deep into it. And I'm really glad that I went the skincare route because I would not be able to do just permanent makeup. So I started off with skincare, and then I actually didn't really want to do brows after that. I was no, it's fine. I'm just going to stick to skincare, but I'd already put down money on my course for PMU. So I just decided to just do it, and I was actually pretty good at it from the get-go, and my teacher told me I had a natural talent for it.
Yeah, your brows look really good.
Thank you. It's crazy. I'm so hard on myself, because it really is an art, and you have to be really, really good with your technique. And I'm still a beginner, but I definitely see my flaws, and I'm oh my God, that could have been so much better. I did this, and this wrong. So it's really taxing on me. I think PMU is really difficult. There's a lot of times where I want to just not do it anymore, but it is such a high ticket price that it's helped me grow my business because of the high ticket price.
Would you say that you're still passionate about it, or you're more passionate with your skincare?
I'm definitely more passionate with skincare, but I'm still driven to be as best as I can be with PMU because I don't want to half-ass it. So, like, I've already invested way more I've invested a lot more money into PMU. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, it is really expensive. It's like 4 times the amount any aesthetics course can be.
And you're good at it, and you don't want to trash your investment right now, especially while you're growing.
Exactly. I'm like, as long as I make back my investment, I'm fine. But yeah, it's kind of tricky. But I'm just so grateful that I did have skincare to fall back on. Because it's definitely, you get those continuous clients versus PMU. You just see someone once a year, if that. And then some of my PMU clients, actually a good, like, maybe half of them have ended up becoming skincare clients. So that's really helpful.
Like, you can probably tell, this is an assumption that I have about PMU, but, like, I feel like with something like that, if someone's really good at their job, then you get a whole lot of referrals from your clients. Is that something that, like, you experience word of mouth?
It's crazy. I actually I've seen 150 clients, and I have maybe gotten 5 referrals. It's crazy. Wow. I'm like, what is going on? Like, everyone talks about word of mouth and, how important it is and referrals. And I'm just like, why is no one referring?
Isn't it crazy, like, what works differently for other people? Because for me, if I see somebody that does, like, a bomb-ass job at brows, I tell everybody about it because I'm like, this is the girl to go to. And I just assume that everybody does that.
I know, I do too, but, like, I have told some of my clients will tell me, like, oh, I tell everyone about you, blah, 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 but, like, it's not really, I don't know if it's just, I don't know what it is. But then again,
you never really know, because maybe sometimes people will come to you because they got referred, but they just don't tell you. Maybe.
Yeah, and I am starting to ask for referrals. That's not something I was doing before. Like, I do have a little card that says, like, if you refer someone, you'll get X amount off. But now I'm, like, actively telling people, like, hey, in case you didn't know, I have a referral program.
Because I used to have that in my room, too, and people don't take the time to sit there and read it. But, like, I found when I actually text a client, like, a few days after and ask them to write one, then they'll write it.
Like a review, yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I will take my time, like, sending out personalized emails.
Man, it's tedious, but, like, you gotta do it. But that's great that you're noticing, like, what works.
Yeah, honestly, I get most of my clients from Instagram, which is crazy because...
That is crazy because it's the opposite for me. Like, my people that follow me... Ads. Oh, you run ads? Okay.
I do, yeah.
I don't.
So I make my ads. So this is what I was doing wrong at first. I was making my ads put, like, how it has, like, the goals. Mm-hmm. You can put, like, more website clicks, direct messages, or more profile views. So I was doing direct messages, the website clicks. But people need to know who you are and about your brand before they actually want to buy. And so that wasn't working for me. I ended up switching it to more profile views. Mm-hmm. And so I just run, like, a little ad here and there. And I put the goal for more profile views. And then, like, all of a sudden I'll start getting a ton of followers.
Wow.
And I'd get maybe like 5-ish bookings a week from it, but it pays off.
I love that we're talking about this because, like, I'm learning stuff here because I like that's never worked for me. But what has worked for me is, like, sharing into local Facebook groups. That's something that I did frequently, and it really helped me build.
That doesn't work for me because
right?
I've done it. Yeah, I've done it, and I don't know if it's just Colorado Springs. Like, we're just so saturated with estheticians.
Yeah.
Because people will be like, oh, is there any, like, esthetician recommendations? And there's, like, hundreds of comments. And I'm like, oh, my God, like, is it even worth it? And I have posted, like, my own things, and then I get maybe, like, 2 or 3 likes. But I do need to still nurture that aspect of it. It's just it hasn't really, like, it hasn't really been fruitful. So it's like, why am I going to put more effort into it? I'm like, I'm just going to put my effort into what works, which is obviously Instagram.
Right.
So that's like why I really try and, like, my social media. But I want to get better at doing videos, like reels of myself, because that's one thing that I'm not good at. Is just kind of putting myself out there and getting those ideas like yours. And because people, they want to see that. They want to follow you. They don't necessarily want to follow your brand. And sometimes they don't even care about skincare.
Yeah, when I first...
dumb, but they want to see you. And so
that's
like,
true.
I think about it with like my massage therapist, like, yeah, I pay her $100. She doesn't give the most amazing massage. She's great, but I go because for whatever reason, I'm just like loyal to her now.
You like her as a person too.
Yeah, exactly. You just really like, I don't know. I feel like when clients feel connected to you, they feel like they know you and are like more likely to book. And then, cause then they come across another esthetician and then they're like, well, why would I book with her? Like, I don't know who she is, you know? So.
But I'm glad we talked about that, because like you know, you hear all these things like, oh, this is what you should be doing, but like you have to find out what works for you. You have to try different things, and then whatever is the magic formula, like you just gotta go with that.
I know. Basically, like the biggest advice I've seen on Instagram is like, be authentically you and like show up. And it's like, I know that. And I just like, I do it on stories because it's easier for me, because you can have like conversations with yourself, but like a reel is just so difficult for me. So if you ever see me doing, just, you know,
I'll like and share. I know when I first started making like reels and stuff like that, I was in Colorado Springs. It was 2020. I think, Jesus Christ. And I was working with Lashes by JoJo, and she had a assistant who was 19 years old, and she was really young, and she would be like, oh, Emily, you need to do this. And I was like, you will never catch me making a TikTok video. And then finally I was like, listen, you just gotta like put the embarrassment behind you and just do it.
But, yeah, something that I forgot who it was I was talking to, they were like, when you're making a reel yourself, you are probably deleting a bunch of clips and thinking, oh, I look dumb, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and just like being hypercritical of yourself. But I was talking to someone about that, and they were telling me, they're like, well, when I watch a reel of someone, I'm not paying attention to the little things. I'm literally just like paying attention to what they're saying or doing.
So last week's episode, I talked about my own personal success, and I wanted to get another person's perspective. So I wanted to ask you, what does success look like or feel like to you as an esthetician, short-term and long-term?
So for short-term, I would say just being fully booked, making my monthly goals, being able to not feel burnt out, and working less but making more. Lately, I've been working 6 days a week, and I have been reaching my goals and surpassing them, but working those 6 days a week is just really draining on me. I feel burnt out and things like that, and it really takes the joy away from what I'm doing. And so just being able to like reclaim back my time and setting those boundaries with myself and my business, that to me is more of like success in the short term. And then as far as long term, I'm dreaming pretty big here. But
why not?
My long-term success is absolutely financial freedom. Being able to step away from the treatment room so that I can focus more on managing my business, so I can heal my body and not having to bend over backwards, literally working in the treatment room 8 hours a day, 4 to 5 days a week, and instead kind of being able to just preserve my body in that aspect. And I will put it out there, 7-figure business. That to me it wasn't ever anything that I considered when joining, when starting esthetician school or anything of that sort, even starting my business. I never thought that could be attainable, but now it's something that I'm definitely reaching for, and I'm trying to take the steps to get there.
So like,
I would say that would be a long term for me.
What would those steps be for you to get to the 7-figure? Like, would you have to hire out employees, or like, what is the idea with that?
So I just joined a mentorship. It's the Bosses in Beauty six-figure business blueprint. I invested a good amount of money into that, and that will hopefully give me like the strategies to be able to do that. But some of the kind of little steps that I'm taking to hopefully get me to those bigger steps is I did just sign a lease on a kind of bigger location. I'll be renting out some suites to other estheticians, and I'm hoping that the suite rent will cover my rent, so I'm not having that overhead. I'll be having less overhead, so I can then invest that money back into my business. And then I'm also going to be in a higher income area, and so I'll be able to raise my prices. And just overall have a clientele with more disposable income, which, as we know, aesthetics, it can be a luxury to a lot of people.
Yeah, it can be viewed as a luxury service for sure.
Yeah, and when we're in this, current climate of like, oh, there's an impending recession and all of this, people get scared and they don't want to spend as much. Mm-hmm. And so who has more money? The higher middle class. And so I'm hoping that with my move, it'll eventually kind of push me towards that. And then as I start growing with like more income, I can start reinvesting more and more into the business. Then eventually I would like to get a storefront, hire some employees, and eventually delegate a bunch of tasks to where I'm not having to really do it. Instead, the business just becomes self-sustainable.
Well, congratulations. That's huge that you're rented out this space to, rent suites. That's kind of like that's exactly kind of like one of my goals. But it's smart, number one. And then number two, I think that the more you push yourself out of your comfort zone, the easier the bigger things seem. So I think once you make that step and get familiar with it, the next step will be even easier for you.
Absolutely. I think that a lot of times we are fearful of our decisions and we let our ego get in the way. And sometimes you just have to follow your gut and follow your heart and just do it. If we have to have a mindset of abundance and fearlessness, because that's really what's going to take us far.
That's what held me back for so long, because I've said it before in my podcast, like it took me 8 years before I went solo because I thought it was going to be too hard, like being my husband in the military and we move every 2 to 3 years. But finally, I'm like, what's the point in letting that hold me back? Like, so what? That's something that I just have to deal with,
Yeah, and I think that's really great that you still decided to do that, even knowing that there's that uncertainty of, I might move in a few years, and knowing that you're going to have to start over wherever else you move. Mm-hmm. I think that that's really brave of you, because it just shows that you're willing to keep doing it over and over again.
Yeah. But I'm excited to, and hopefully you'll share some of that journey on your page. Are you going to do like a big announcement, or?
I am nervous to do an announcement about the move, just because I do have a lot of clients that live further down south than where I'm moving, because I'm actually moving up north and everyone lives like south of me. But I've been slowly but surely just trying to like talk to my clients, kind of get the idea of like where they live, mm-hmm. And kind of slowly introduce that idea to them. And then, I am going to do an announcement, maybe a grand opening or like an open house style of event. And I'm really excited. I'm also really nervous.
Are you going to Briargate?
Yeah, Briargate.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, it's a really nice area. I know someone who, I don't know if she's still a esthetician there now. Are you familiar with Clear with Sabrina?
Yeah, she's in Black Forest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I had went to her one time when she was in Briargate, and I lived all the way in Fountain. If anybody is like in Colorado Springs, you guys know what we're talking about, but I lived in Fountain, and I would drive like all the way to Briargate to go see her.
Okay,
So
well,
I'm sure
that
your
makes me
clients
happy because
will.
I do have a lot of clients in fountain and security, so that makes me feel better.
It's like a once
I
a
do think
month.
ultimately people will make the drive.
Yeah.
Like I have clients that come for me for 30, 40 minutes, but yeah, it'll just be nice to be in that area.
All right, so I'll go ahead and move to our second question. What is the driving power behind your personal goals? Because I know how you just shared that you want to reach a 7-figure business, which is amazing, and I believe you can do it. For me, that's not something that I desire, but I wanted to know if there's a bigger reason or just what is the driving power for the level of success that you want to reach?
So I come from an immigrant family. Both my parents are Colombian. I'm Colombian. I was born in Colombia. That was a lot of Colombia. But they immigrated to the United States when I was 2 years old. They wanted to provide me better opportunities, just a better life. And I think that so I went to college for 4 years, got my bachelor's, and afterward, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I felt that kind of sense of disappointment from them. And I guess I just want to prove them right that they did come here for the right reasons. And they are middle class, but I want to push our family past that. I want them to know that everything is limit. There's no limit. And I also want to bring money back to my country and just provide a comfortable livelihood for my grandma, some of my family members, maybe buy my mom a nice car. So yeah, I think that as cliche as it sounds, I just want to have that American dream, and maybe be the first millionaire in my family.
That's awesome. I love that.
Which is crazy. It sounds insane, but
right, but you can do it. I think anybody can do it. And the fact that you're already where you are when you didn't come from someone who had easier access to things or you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's crazy. I've never had that idea in my mind. I want to be a millionaire. And it sounds kind of so cliche to me, but I guess it's because I never really felt like there were any avenues. I think here we're just so stuck in this 9 to 5, and there's not really too much room for growth in the traditional 9 to 5.
Exactly.
Maybe you can reach 100K, which is still absolutely amazing. But once you get into that entrepreneur mindset and really hone in on that and the possibilities of what you can do, it's crazy. And also being surrounded by just on the internet, other successful estheticians, it's if they can do it, I can too, which it's just mind-boggling to me, because a year ago that would have never been a goal for me, and now it is, and it's so motivating.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it gets easier as you go, and then you can learn tools from other people, like the Bosses of Beauty course that you took, and find out what you can do to create multiple, sources of income and things like that. And I think that's important for what we do, because we're not going to be in the treatment room when we're 50, 60 years old.
Yeah, I'm less than a year in, and my back hurts, my fingers hurt. I do take care of my body as much as I can, but I've started to notice this isn't going to be sustainable for me, and I have to start thinking of a plan now before it's too late, or before I do burn my body out.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I'll ask this last question, and I'm excited to see how you answer this. Of course, with the podcast, I want to offer people insight on how to elevate themselves, not just in the field of aesthetics, but in life too. So I wanted to ask you, how have you elevated yourself personally or professionally? Is there a practice that you've done that has you've gained more insight from, or that you've grown from? Just anything really.
Okay, yeah. So lately, and I think this kind of goes in together. So I think when you elevate yourself personally, it ends up translating into professionally or vice versa.
I agree.
I think that as just human nature, or maybe it's just the way that some of us grew up, we don't really put too much focus on personal growth because we don't know how, or I don't know, but, and so I guess like me, I'll focus more on like professional growth, but in turn, it ends up making me grow as a person. But one of the biggest things that has just been life changing to me. So I started seeing a functional medicine practitioner at the end of 2022. I was getting terrible headaches. Well, I've had them for over a decade, might be closer to like 15 years. I've been just having headaches every single day. Some of them were debilitating. Other it was, just a headache. But when you're starting a business and you're wanting to show up for your clients as your best self, you can't have headaches.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
I mean, it's just awful. When I worked 9 to 5, just my typical corporate job, I dealt with it because it was like, okay, whatever. But I started to realize, no, I need to show up for my clients, and I couldn't be in pain anymore. And I said, you know what, that's it. I tried everything. But I ended up finding a functional medicine practitioner and signed up for one of her like partnerships, and we dove deep into the root cause of my headaches and started to really hone in on my health. And I made a complete 180 or 360, whatever, but
is a functional, is that like a holistic?
Oh, what was that?
Is that like a holistic doctor, or what is that?
Yes. So okay. She's a nurse practitioner, and they basically work on your bodily systems, making sure everything is working correctly. They do a lot of, they work a lot of, on like blood tests and have higher ranges of what your typical doctor would look at. They dig a little bit deeper. And they work on like, oh, well, you might have a deficiency in this, and because you have a deficiency in this, it can cause all of these things to happen. So they're very big on like working on hormones and gut health, things of that sort. I lost my train of thought.
I've never heard of that term before.
I have not had a random headache since, I think it's been since December.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Currently April. I only get one like when I have my just typical triggers, if I'm not like drinking enough water or this and that. But it is so crazy to me. And now that I'm painless in a sense, I'm so much happier. I'm healthier. I cut out gluten. I cut out dairy. And in turn, it made me eat healthier because I'm not eating a bunch of bread and cheese. And so I'm going to the gym more. I'm picking up healthier habits. And that in turn, it's a personal growth, but it's also going to help me professionally because I can show up as my best self.
Yeah, like bravo to you for taking care of yourself. And because I know so many people will just get into that hustle mindset and grind it out and just go too hard on themselves until they've just like worn themselves out. So you kind of like got ahead of it. I'm going to start telling my clients about whatever a functional, what is it? Functional medicine. Okay. Because I feel like that is kind of similar to like how you might treat acne holistically. It sounds like she gets into the root cause of it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And when she talks to me about certain things, she'll be like, oh, and then your free radicals and your antioxidants and your ATP. And I'm like, I know what you're talking about.
That's awesome. Well, I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. We've kind of like chatted over the past few months, and I've just been trying to get more guest speakers on here. And I really love your story and love your like whole approach and your goals. And I'm super excited to see where you go.
Thank you. I'm really nervous. You just have to You just gotta do it, man.
No, you got it. You're making big moves. Like, I feel so small. No, I'm so excited. I love to see other people do things, and I'm like, that's a good idea. Like, maybe I can do that.
Yeah, definitely. I would like to thank Instagram. We definitely like to just be like, oh, well, we can't like compare ourselves. And sometimes it's like, well, if they can do it, I can do it too, you know?
Yeah, I think there's a difference too between like comparing yourself and then being inspired by others. But like, have had to like mute people before, not in a bad way, but like, if you do have those people that you look at and you're like, oh, I love everything. And it kind of like messes your head up and you're like, I have to stop seeing what they're doing because it's making me second guess what I'm doing. And, but yeah, I love to see everything, and I'm inspired by so many other estheticians and you. So really excited with your journey, and I'll probably be hitting you up in like a year or so. Who knows? Whenever I get ready to make that big move too. So. All right. Well, I will, we'll sign off on here, and I'll probably chat to you a little bit off mic. But thank you guys so much for listening. And as always, I'll see you next Monday, 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time for another episode.